Within 50 years of the William Webb Ellis incident at Rugby School in 1823, rugby football was being played throughout the whole of the old British Empire. Like cricket and the empire itself, the sun never set on rugby union. The handling code established deep roots in those far-flung places, under the influence of military, academic, clerical and medical establishments. It was inevitable that the mother country would send touring teams to challenge the colonials, and it began in 1888 with a privately arranged tour to Australia and New Zealand. No test matches on that tour, but the introduction of international games from 1891 gave competitive spice to the idea of touring. In those early days, there was no conscious effort to have a mix of the four home unions. Selection relied mainly on the availability of university students, sons of the well-off, and the ability to leave home for about 6 months of the year. It was more by accident than design that the 1899 tourists were the first to contain players born in England, Scotland, Ireland and Wales. By 1903, the South African Springboks had become formidable opponents. In 1904, Billy Stead's All Blacks had not only mastered the game, but had developed their approach to a high degree of technical perfection. Consequently, were able to overwhelm the 1908 Anglo-Welsh visitors. The 1910 tour of South Africa was the first one to represent the four home unions officially. Touring was interrupted during the Great War, and rugby football needed another generation of players before tours resumed in 1924. And by this time, the Springboks were enjoying a golden era and were virtually unbeatable. It was on the 1930 tour of New Zealand that they became known as the Lions. This was the tour that was soured by constant off-the-field squabbles. The Lions hadn't toured New Zealand for 22 years, and so law interpretations proved contentious, with serious differences almost bringing the tour to a premature end. But those very quarrels by honourable men helped to standardise the laws of rugby football. This match at Dunedin was the first test. It was played on the 21st of June 1930 in conditions of driving sleet, but it was to be the only test the Lions were to win. The manager of the 1930 Lions, Doug Prentice, later secretary of the Rugby Football Union, returned home with suggestions for the International Rugby Board. This brought about vital changes. In the scrummaging formation, there would now be 3 players in the front row, and one of them would be designated the hooker. Wing forwards would bind at the back of the scrum. And as a direct result of New Zealand being unhappy about wearing white in the tests to avoid clashing with the dark Scottish blue of the tourist, the present-day colours of the Lions were established. It was to be red jerseys, white shorts, blue stockings with green tops, representing the colours of all the 4 home unions. The 1938 Lions wore the new strip on the tour of South Africa, and Sammy Walker's team beat the Springboks at Cape Town in the 3rd test, the first Lions victory in South Africa since 1910. During those years before World War II, member countries of the International Rugby Board had been successful in hammering out differences in law, establishing harmony, whilst retaining individual styles and attitudes. On the 18th of March 1939, England won the Calcutta Cup, beating Scotland at Murrayfield by 9 points to 6. It was the last international to be played before the outbreak of war. As the conflict came to an end, the celebrations were not just in the streets of London and Paris. Victory rugby matches were being played all over the world. France actually awarded caps to their players when they challenged the British Army team at Parc des Princes. They even awarded caps when they played in the Victory Internationals. But those games and the tour of Europe by Charlie Saxton's team of New Zealand Expeditionary Force meant that rugby football was back on its feet. Within 4 years, the next Lions tour was underway. Carl Mullen, the hooker for Old Belvedere in Ireland, was elected captain of the 1950 Lions tour to New Zealand and Australia. The first test was at Dunedin, and the New Zealand spectators had turned up not just to see the All Blacks, but the legendary Irish fly-half Jackie Kyle. He and a few other Lions had played against the Kiwi Army team and had enormous reputations to live up to. This move early in the second half ended in a try by the Welsh Olympic sprinter Ken Jones. Shortly afterwards, John Robbins kicked a penalty goal. And then came another breakthrough by the Lions' talented backs. Jack Matthews thrusting his way upfield, and finished off by Jackie Kyle himself scoring the try. When the Lions took the field at Wellington for the third test, Blethen Williams had taken over the captaincy from the injured Mullen. Several other key players were also unavailable through injury. And with the second test lost by 8 points to 0, the Lions had no illusions about the task at Athletic Park, particularly since they were up against an unchanged All Blacks team. They had an encouraging early 3 points lead when John Robbins kicked a penalty goal. The New Zealand captain was the Otago second 5'8", Ron Elvidge, and while his forwards were battling for supremacy towards the end of the first half, he left the field after colliding with the Lions centre, Jack Matthews. A few minutes into the second half, Elvidge returned to the field, stitches in a head wound and a shoulder strapped up. This was to be the inspiration the All Blacks were looking for. From a line-out, the All Blacks spun it to reach Elvidge, who moved to the outside. As he crossed the Lions' line, it was to be one of the most emotional moments ever witnessed at this famous ground. Yet another victory for the All Blacks. The Lions' replacement fullback for the fourth test at Auckland was Llanelli's Lewis Jones, and at the age of 19, he retained his place in the team for the 2 tests in Australia, where at Brisbane he created a new Lions point-scoring record in the test, 16 from a try, drop goal, 2 penalty goals and 2 conversions. During the period after the war, the Springboks won a Grand Slam on their 1951-52 tour of Britain, Ireland and France, and then went on to beat the Wallabies when the Australians toured South Africa in 1953. And so, in 1955, the Lions, under the leadership of Irish lock forward Robin Thompson, had no illusions that they were about to take on the best rugby team in the world. The South Africans knew it would be an uncompromising battle up front, and whoever won good ball, there were talented back divisions on both sides to offer some dazzling running. A world record crowd of 100,000 spectators packed Ellis Park, Johannesburg, on the 6th of August 1955 to see that first test. Within minutes, the Lions won the ball, going left, along the three-quarter line to the Irish winger Cecil Pedlow. In the next 10 minutes, the Lions were able to keep up the pressure, with the English centres Davis and Butterfield penetrating the Springbok defence with ease, and Irish winger Tony O'Reilly getting a try. Then it was the turn of Stephen Fry's Springboks to get points on the scoreboard. Tommy Gentles gets the ball out to his backs, and from the maul, Jan Claessens breaks away and gets the ball to Breers for this try. Then came a half-break which produced the ball for Jeff Butterfield, and he shows his class with a superb individual try. Angus Cameron converted, and the half-time score was Springboks 8, Lions 11. Our scrum half, Dickie Jeeps, was proven to be a hero, and it was his pass that made this a moment for me to remember, just keeping ahead of the reach of Basi van Wyk. Again a conversion by Cameron. By now the Lions had learned how to use the hard ground at Ellis Park. A well-judged kick and a follow-up produced yet another score, this time by Dunfermline's back row forward, Jimmy Greenwood. Half an hour to go, Lions 23, Springboks 11, and Stephen Fry called for a superhuman effort from his team, and he got it. The Springboks pack played with fury and began winning good ball. A well-placed kick ahead by Tommy Gentles into the corner saw winger Swart score a try. Within minutes, the bowling prop Chris Koch got his try, and by now the Springboks were in full flight, and their next try wasn't far away. Shortly after the restart, a breakaway down the right, an interchange of passing, and Breers was in for his second try. The Springboks were now only 1 point behind. The conversion by fullback Jack van der Scheef could win the match. He misses. Agony for him, but triumph for the Lions and victory by 23 points to 22. The second test was played at the Newlands Ground, Cape Town. The Lions lost by 25 points to 9, a match that will be remembered for a hat-trick of tries by the Northern Transvaal wing three-quarter Tom van Vollenhoven. Van Vollenhoven had been switched from centre to wing for this match, with specific instructions to look after Tony O'Reilly. But from a line-out near halfway, he was to get his second try. Chasing up a perfectly placed grubber kick and a Lions fumble, he was first to the ball. His third try was a magnificent solo effort. With deceptive running, he had little difficulty in stepping around the Lions' defence. A hat-trick of tries and a place in the history books for Tom van Vollenhoven. With Robin Thompson injured, I had the privilege of leading the Lions at Pretoria on the 3rd of September for the third test. The series was in the balance at 1 apiece, but the game at Loftus Versfeld didn't live up to its full potential. Anxious not to make mistakes, so much depended on possession. It was as if the teams were testing each other out for the first time. Later, the Springbok selectors were to be subjected to heavy criticism for the way the Springboks appeared to be somewhat sluggish throughout the match. They were unable to cross the Lions' try line and scored only 2 penalty goals. In spite of the altitude factor, the Lions' scores came more spectacularly. Gaining possession to line out, the ball moves out to the left, and with a close attacking formation, the Lions confused the Springbok defence, and under what should have been an impossible situation, Jeff Butterfield drops a goal. He later scored a try, and Doug Baker, England's utility fullback, got a penalty. The news going back home was that the Lions had won the third test by 9 points to 6, and were in with a chance of winning the series. The fourth and final test was at Port Elizabeth on the 24th of September. Gareth Griffiths, the replacement Welsh three-quarter, was picked on the wing. Tony O'Reilly was selected to play at centre, inside fellow Irishman Cecil Pedler. The Lions were the better side in the first half, launching attack after attack, and from a Gareth Griffiths kick ahead, Scotland's Jim Greenwood ran like the wind to get the first try of the match. The conversion was by Cecil Pedler, and by half-time the Lions were very much on top. The Springboks came back in the second half, but near the end of the game, Tony O'Reilly scored his 17th try of the tour, a record for the 19-year-old Irishman from Dublin. The series shared, and such was the magnetism of O'Reilly and the 1955 Lions that 3,000 people turned up at the airport when they left for home. For the second time in the 50s, a hooker would be captain of the Lions side. For the third time in that decade, it was to be an Irishman, Ronnie Dawson, the Wanderers hooker, who was to lead the Lions team to New Zealand in 1959. They arrived at Dunedin for the first test, having beaten the Wallabies in the 2 Australia tests, scoring 5 tries and 41 points in the process. They were a side of talented individuals, players like Peter Jackson and Bev Risman of England, Ken Scotland and Hughie MacLeod of Scotland, David Hewitt and Sid Miller of Ireland, John Fall and Rhys Williams of Wales. The first score of the match was to come from the boot of the Waikato fullback Don Clark, already a legend. He was to create a little bit of history. What Wilson Winneray's team lacked in midfield thrust was being made up for by the phenomenal kicking of his fullback, and within a few minutes he was to get another 3 points for the All Blacks, mighty pleasing for the record crowd at Carisbrooke. Hewitt reduced the margin with a penalty kick, but a try was needed, and it came from a scrum on the New Zealand 25. The midfield magic was produced by Bev Risman at fly half, and that left Tony O'Reilly free on the left wing. Then came an opportunist try for the Lions. It's the Welsh centre Malcolm Price who gets to the ball for the touchdown, and the score puts Ronnie Dawson's team ahead 9 points to 6. And early in the second half, another Don Clark penalty levels the score. And then what should have been a scoring attack by the All Blacks was turned to the Lions' advantage by inept midfield play. The Lions apply a kick-and-rush tactic through Malcolm Price, and with the All Blacks in disarray, the Lions regroup for the final assault, with Ken Scotland keeping up the forward momentum. But it's Malcolm Price who goes wide on the right to take a scoring pass for his second try. The Lions look as if they can't possibly lose the match, but there's the little matter of another penalty kick by Don Clark. And another penalty kick by Don Clark. And the Otago referee, Mr. Fleury, is really getting into his stride. He spots yet another Lions infringement, and that's another penalty for Don Clark. Lions 17 from 4 tries, Don Clark 18 from penalty kicks. A series of injuries forced no fewer than 8 changes in the Lions team that went onto Athletic Park for the second Test match at Wellington. The All Blacks were to produce another hero in this match. Local wing three-quarter Ralph Colton getting 2 tries, the first one from a follow-up on the left. A Don Clark penalty made the half-time score New Zealand 6, Lions 0. The only Lions try came soon after the restart, when English sprint champion John Young made a determined effort to cross the line. With Ken Scotland injured, Llanelli fullback Terry Davies kicked the conversion and brought the Lions to within a point of New Zealand. Colton got a second try soon afterwards, and with about 5 minutes to go, Don Clark proved that he could do more than just kick goals. And so New Zealand were 2-0 up in the Test series. And then it was to Lancaster Park, Christchurch for the third Test, and Wilson Winneray's All Blacks were to find devastating form on the day. Again, Ralph Colton got his usual couple of tries, his first one on the blind side. Along the way, Colin Pinetree Meads got into the act with a try from a sustained attack by the All Blacks pack. And Don Clark was to prove that he had yet another way of scoring points for New Zealand. A neat dropped goal, so Ronnie Dawson's Lions desperately needed a score, and it came against the run of play. The Lions gained possession from a line-out, and Horrocks Taylor, shaking off a couple of tackles, passes the ball to Irish centre David Hewitt. He scores the try. The conversion and a penalty by Welsh number 8 John Fall made the half-time score 14-8 to New Zealand, and a second try for Ralph Colton in the dying minutes. Don Clark converted, so it was a defeat for the Lions in the first 3 tests. But victories in the 4 provincial matches prior to the 4th Test boosted the confidence of Dawson's team at Eden Park, Auckland, on the 19th September. They were certainly determined to attack from the start, and this time the pressure was on the All Blacks. And it's Irishman Tony O'Reilly who cuts across field to find support from Scottish centre Ken Scotland. Then the ball is out to England's Peter Jackson. Even the New Zealand supporters applauded that one, and there was more to come from the Lions in the second half. A cheeky little try from Tony O'Reilly on the blind side. Don Clark kicked 2 penalties for the All Blacks, and the Auckland crowd were in for another spectacular moment from the Lions in the dying minutes. From a well-timed reverse pass from scrum half Andy Mulligan, Bev Risman was unstoppable from 40 yards. A glorious moment and a famous victory in the 4th Test, and for Ronnie Dawson, a record. taking the field as captain in all 6 tests. It was this tour that rekindled the arguments about the points valley for a try, after the Lions scored 4 tries in that first test and yet lost the match. Arthur Smith, the Scottish wing three-quarter, was selected as captain of the Lions tour to South Africa in 1962. It was a party made up of 10 Englishmen, 10 Welshmen, 7 Irishmen and 6 Scotsmen. Just before the first test, the Lions lost their brilliant outside half Richard Sharp of England, victim of the questionable tackling technique of Francois Manickis-Roux in the Northern Transvaal match. The test series opened at Ellis Park, Johannesburg, and early in the first half, the Springboks went on the attack. And when a strong running centre like Johnny Gainsford's at full speed, no one can stop him. Scotland's Gordon Waddle was the Lions' fly half. In the second half, he got the ball to Llanelli centre Ken Jones, 10 yards inside their own half. What happened then was a moment of rugby history at this famous ground. An honourable draw in the first test and confusion over a new law robbed the Lions of victory in the second test, when Welsh lock forward Keith Rowlands dropped on the ball over the Springbok line. The referee ruled no try. He was not yet familiar with the fact that you can't be offside in such a situation, and so the Springboks won the match with a penalty by fly half Keith Oxley. For the third test at Cape Town, the Lions made further changes because of injuries. The 22-year-old Ulster player Willie John McBride came in to play his first test at lock. Also in the team to play his first test was the fullback from Cork, Tom Kiernan. Both would be Lions captains in future years. Now, by this time, Richard Sharp was fit and available, and it was he who got the Lions' only points of the match. The opportunity came his way just before half-time. 3 points from a drop goal, but the Springboks were to notch up 8 points through their fly half Keith Oxley. He kicked a penalty, and 10 minutes before the end of the match, he took advantage of mistakes by the Lions' three-quarters and got a try. Arthur Smith wasn't available to lead the Lions in the fourth test at Bloemfontein, so the captaincy went to Dickie Jeeps on his third Lions tour. The Lions had been in South Africa for 3.5 months. The tour had been demanding, and some played with niggling injuries. The Springboks broke through the Lions' defence to score 6 tries, but forwards Rowlands and Campbell-Lamberton got 1 each for the Lions, and were involved in this try by Scotland's Ron Cowan. In spite of the brave effort, the result was a record-losing margin for a representative Lions side. But the tour had produced talented administrators in terms of future well-being and development of the game. Mike Campbell-Lamberton of Scotland had been a back row forward on the 1962 tour, but now he was chosen as lock and captain for the 1966 tour of Australia, New Zealand and Canada. A record crowd of 43,000 turned up at the Sydney Cricket Ground to see the Lions beat the Wallabies in the first test on the 28th of May by 11 points to 8. But only 18,000 turned up a week later when the Lions played their second test against Australia at Brisbane's Rugby League ground, Lang Park. The Wallabies were virtually a New South Wales team, but on the day they were unable to score a single point. For the Lions, it was to be a record score of 31 points, which included these tries.
Back into Jones. What a glorious try that was. Across to Bebb. Rubner limping noticeably there. Bebb has it. Good bit of play through the back, ball back in field. Weston. Very clever switching. Jones again. Watkins outside him.
And it's a try by Watkins, right beside the upright.
Long throw in. Weston has it. Out to Bebb. Rubner coming at him, steps out of Rubner's tackle quite easily, cuts back inside and crosses for a glorious try. A real determined winger's effort that was.
British Isles 21 points, Australia 0.
Young Jones again, linking up with his backs. Watkins out there.
Wilson.
Centre kick.
A try.
Right into the arms of Murphy.
But now it was to New Zealand, and Campbell Lamerton's side was to experience early despair with a succession of defeats against Southland, Otago and Wellington. Brian Lahore's All Blacks were to be equally uncompromising at Carisbrook, Dunedin.
Great, Laidlaw, Heroini, going to have a drop? No, still. Heroini, great footwork. On now to Nathan. Nathan to McLeod. McLeod's over. 10 yards from the line. Laidlaw, Heroini, McRae. It's Lahore out there. Brought down 10 yards from the line. Right in front of the posts, rucking Laidlaw, Heroini, Smith, Willerman dives. Laidlaw, Heroini on the 25, McRae, taken by Jones, in front of the post. Here's Nathan again. Nathan bursting clear. Nathan, Lahore, diving and scoring. Laidlaw on halfway. McRae again. McRae finds it. McRae in the clear. Looking for support. Finds it. Tremaine the try. Laidlaw very much on defence, as you can see. Those are the New Zealand goalposts. It's a tight head. Watkins, White. Over. 6-5. Lewis. Watkins, caught. Here's the 25-yard line. Nathan. Smith. Tremaine. Colin needs the try.
Thomas is the prop on this side for the Lions, and he's amazed me today. I didn't think he would play as well as this in that position.
There's Di Watkins jinking. He goes past Nathan. He goes past Heroini and flicks it to Gibson. And Gibson's found a gap. And he's clapping it on. Over the 25 he goes. Infield to Stuart Watkins. He could be in. No, he's held right on the line. It's loose. It's the dive. It's a try to the Lions. And it looks like Campbell Lamerton. Lamont. Heroini. Long pass. A possible chance. Dragged to the ground. Steele in there looking for it. Kicked through by Stuart Watkins. Still kicking it ahead. Kicks it past Willerman. Racing across it. Back IST strip. Loses the ball. Stuart Watkins there. Tony Steele had to hurry if he wants to clear this one. Alan Lewis is there. Steele dives on it 10 yards from the New Zealand line. Dragged off it in a flash. Stuart Watkins flips it in field. Allen pass. Here's trouble for New Zealand. Along to Di Watkins. It couldn't be anything but a try.
New Zealand's ball. Wonderful position to attack from here. I wonder if we'll go the blind or the open.
Willerman looks as though he's going to be in if they get it.
Possibly a winger in two.
And there's everything set for the reverse pass. Heroini's diving. He's held right on the line. Rucking for it. Laidlaw's got it out to Steele. Steele's in for New Zealand. Leeds. Strong man. Nathan. McRae gathers it nicely. Could be in trouble. McRae after it inside the 25. Dewey Bev picked up by Waka Nathan. He's in.
Five 0 to New Zealand. Nice take by McBride. As he loses it, Laidlaw, Heroini drop goal on. Malcolm Dick has it. Dick scored. Dick scored by the post. Beautiful opportunist try by Malcolm Dick. Oh, a lovely jump there by Price. Lewis out quickly to McFadden, and a quick one out on the far side to Hinshelwood. Oh, he'll score. Hinshelwood will score in the corner. Red ball. Gibson doesn't take it cleanly. Nathan through on top of him. Tremaine taking it down to the 25. It's flicked ahead again by McRae. And McRae will score. A try for McRae.
Another try by England centre Colin McFadden and a couple of successful kicks by Wilson reduced the deficit. But the Lions returned home with a sad record in New Zealand, making up for it on the way with a 19 points to 8 victory over Canada at Toronto. And so to 1968 and the tour of South Africa, and Tom Kiernan, the fullback from Cork, was to be the 5th Irishman to lead the Lions team since 1938. He created new records, and apart from one single try, all the Lions' points in the Test series were to be scored by him. The tour went into the history books for another less welcome reason, when in a bad-tempered match against Eastern Transvaal at Springs, the Welsh prop John O'Shea became the only Lion ever to be sent off. The 1968 Lions were coached by the 1959 captain Ronnie Dawson, and he was understandably confident of reasonable success in the first test on the 8th of June, after winning all the first 6 provincial matches handsomely.
Dirksen will take it. Northern Transvaal has a go. That was not a bad tackle. De Villiers in trouble. Picked up nicely there. Oh, we almost had drama as Brazenhen and Richards got together in that melee. And there's the big fella going in. And that must be a try. Willie John McBride of Ireland. Nicely taken by Arneil. That was a bad win back. And here's a try. That must be a try. Gets himself involved with 5 or 6 Springboks. To Gareth Edwards, to Mike Gibson. Mike Gibson to Jock Turner. Jock Turner to Bresnahan, who makes a hash of it. This is Yanni Engelbrecht who picks it up. Nicely inside to Nomis. Back outside to number 4, Tommy Bedford. Great score. Let's make no mistake about that. That was a great score. That's jumping in straight across there. Possibly here he comes. Big deep leg. Charging the ball is in the tick. Kieran with it. That was a great score. The body of pitch. Effective career.
Tom Kiernan's 5 penalty goals and the conversion of McBride's try made the Lions' score look respectable. But the Lions had no illusions about the difference between provincial and international rugby in South Africa. The second test match at Port Elizabeth was a disappointment for all. Not much spectacle for the crowd, and it ended in a draw at 2 penalties to the Springboks and 2 penalties to Tom Kiernan for the Lions. Tom Kiernan was to get 2 more penalties in the third test at Cape Town, but by now no one was betting against a victory by Davy de Villiers' team. The only try of the match went to the Springboks.
Attacking now, the Springboks. 2 is Spitzer, 1 Moff Myberg, the big tiny Nordier behind him. Frick Dupree leaning out of this line, right opposite Stagg. Bedford takes Young. He has a chance in the try. Lawrence, the scorer.
His 2 penalties in the 4th test at Ellis Park, Johannesburg, brought Tom Kiernan's total to 35 points, a record for a Lion in a test series. It was to their credit that the Lions averted the expected rout. The Springboks were in devastating form.
Gibson was poised there to go up on the elbow. Fasachi, Francois Roux through the middle. He's gone over the gap, 25-yard line. This must be a try. Oh, what a great run. That is brilliant rugby. Balls to de Villiers, a slip pass, and an almost a try. Yes, it is a try. That's Jan Ellis, who came up on the elbow of fly half Fasachi then, who did the scissors with his scrum half de Villiers. Oh, it's a good ball. To Pete Fasachi this time. Roux couldn't get it. Bedford is covering well. That's Olivier. That's Olivier. He's going to score. Back there to Neatling, Dupree, Holyfair once again. Oh, that stood up badly. It was nicely got Holyfair though. Holyfair inside the Pizza the hooker. And this looks like a drama try. Great try for Novis.
A disappointing test series, but compensation for the 1968 Lions was winning 15 of their 16 provincial matches. In John Dawes, the Lions had a proven leader for the 1971 tour to New Zealand. His London Welsh club side provided the nucleus of the successful Welsh team, and 7 of them were picked for the Lions tour. In Carwyn James, the world of rugby found another thinker. He'd been a disciple of early All Black philosophy, and as coach, he picked the Lions party, knowing they had the skills to win in New Zealand. The manager was Scotland's Dr. Doug Smith, himself a Lion in New Zealand 21 years earlier. And 24 years after he first put on an All Black jersey, Colin Pinetree Meads was to be captain of New Zealand. By the time they arrived at Carisbrooke for the first test, the Lions had won all 10 of their provincial matches and had amassed a total of 282 points, scoring no fewer than 48 tries. And that included 4 by John Bevan against Wellington. He went on to get a total of 17. And 6 tries were scored by David Duckham against West Coast Buller at Greymouth. And their winning ways were to continue in the first test.
13 is Ken Carrington. 220 men. That's Willie John McBride opposite Meads. Behind Willie John, Sean Lynch and Delmy Thomas. Chico Hopkins to Barry John, John Dawes. That's the big man. That's John Bevan. Number 8 the trial's done. Here could be a try. It's a try for the Lions. Front row forward, Ian McLaughlin. Ian McLaughlin of Scotland.
Barry John, the Welsh outside half, was to score vital points in all the tests. His total in New Zealand was an incredible 180, a new record for any player against the All Blacks. And the New Zealand public dubbed him King John.
This time he's done it.
It was the second time in history that the Lions had won at Carisbrooke. The All Black selectors made a few changes for the second test at Lancaster Park, Canterbury, including bringing back the Canterbury forward Alex Wiley at number 8.
Going's ball, Sid Going. Beautiful channeled heel that. Wiley holding on the blind side, Burgess. He's only 1 yard there. What a good score! What a brilliant score! Back on the left side. This is constant pressure. That's Sid Going. Underneath it, the inevitable, the brilliant, the exciting John Williams. He's got 2 and outside. Gibson's with him. Gibson's got Gerald Davis. Can he get there? He's got 25 yards to go. What a run it is. Great healing, the great pickup. Here's Blankford, Kirkpatrick. He's so big and he's lost possession. And then the pickup by Sid Going. Going close to the line. See that juggle, the inside pass. Beautifully out. This could be another try for this fly half Virgin. Brilliant. And this is where the All Blacks are strong. Look at that, Ian Kirkpatrick, the big man. He's got 30 yards to go. Can Barry John get him? He can't. What a try. Edwards to John. The whole line out. Williams in again. Give it to Gerald Davis. Can he get there? Can he get there in the corner? What a run. Great score. What a try. Davis going in. Edwards to Barry John, looking for the drop goal. And he's done it.
And the losing of that second test was to be the only defeat the Lions experienced in 1971 on New Zealand soil. Carwyn James brought the uncapped Llanelli lock Derek Quinnell into the Lions team for the third test at Wellington. And the weather, perfect for a thrilling match.
Mike Gibson, Gerald Davis, see the swing of the hips. That was a beautiful run. He's on the 10-yard line. That's the halfway line. The New Zealand 25. Covering there is Hunter. Hunter, beautiful tackle that by John Taylor. Under the post, they must ruck it now. Can they get it? Beautifully back to Barry John, looking for the drop goal. He's done it. 14, Gerald Davis with a throw. 5 yards now from the All Black line. Can the Lions ruck this ball? They can to Edwards. Edwards going. Davis is there. Gerald Davis has scored a try. Taylor's deflection. Edwards is nearly under the post. Can he get there to Barry John? And Barry John has scored. What a try. 5 yards in the Lions' half. Davis, Edwards. Barry John. There's a chance now for the New Zealanders to attack beautifully by Mays. What a great piece of play. 3-1 the overlap. Wayne Cottrell. Tremendous defense. But what an attack this is. Once again, the mighty man Colin Meads toying with the opposition. Brilliant piece of play by Colin Meads. Going 1 yard, 2 yards short of the line. This is tremendous pressure. It must be a score if they can get this ball away. Yes, Mains.
And victory at Wellington meant that John Dawes' team would be the first Lions side ever to approach a final test with a 2-1 lead. The match at Eden Park, Auckland, was hard and uncompromising, and the Lions manager, Doug Smith, had predicted a draw.
Beautiful piece of work that. This could be a try, but a great tackle that'll snap up a try for Cottrell. 1 yard now, that's all, from the All Blacks line. Edwards, 2 yards short. Can he get there? He's 1 yard short now. Back on the Lion side. Over they are, and it's a score. And it looks very much as if it was Peter Dixon. Williams once again. Mervyn Davis. It's a try. Taken right out of Davis's hands. Down came flank forward Tom Lister. Wiley deflected that one. Davis is there. Mervyn Davis to McLaughlin. McLaughlin. Gareth Edwards waiting for this one. Duckham flinging it out. John Williams, the fullback. Oh, he turned well, and he did it. John Williams, number 15 there.
A magnificent drop goal saw the manager's prophecy come true. An historic series win for the 1971 Lions, a tribute to the genius of Carwyn James, and the last of 55 caps for the giant of world rugby, Colin Meads. A breathtaking tour, an experience that many people said could never be repeated, but they were absolutely wrong. When the 4 home unions announced their Lions team to tour South Africa in 1974, they picked Welshman Alan Thomas as manager. And from Ballymena, Northern Ireland, a dynamic duo. Assistant manager, coach Sid Miller, a veteran prop who had played against the All Blacks in 1959 and against the Springboks in 1962 and 68. And the captain, Willie John McBride, another veteran. He'd played lock against the All Blacks in 66 and 71 and against the Springboks in 1962 and 68. The combination of their experience and talent ensured that the 1974 Lions would leave South Africa invincible. The first test was at Cape Town on the 8th of June. The ground was tacky from heavy rain earlier in the day.
5 minutes gone of the second half. The score 3-all. Phil Bennett with the penalty attempt. It's looking good. It is good. Phil Bennett with the chance to put them 6 points clear. He struck it perfectly. That was over from the moment he touched it with his boot. The Newlands crowd really tense. Are they going to witness a Lions victory for the first time here since 1938? Edwards looks for the long drop at goal. He struck it beautifully and it sails through. J.P.R. Williams raises his arms in triumph.
It was a win at sea level at Newlands in the first test, but on the high felt they would now experience hard grounds and tough rugby and the difficulty of playing at altitude. But the Lions had an encouraging win over a very strong Transvaal team at Ellis Park. By the time they got to Pretoria, the Lions hadn't lost a game. Confidence was understandably high as they arrived at Loftus-Versfeld for the second test. It was to be a match that would add a few new entries in the record books.
Rolling for J.J. Williams into the 25. Williams kicks it on. This could be a try. Williams has scored. Hammers Hayes throws. Meant for Williams. Eventually back to Bosch. On the halfway line into the corner, but JPR Williams had spotted that. That's still in play. Ian McCallum chasing his own kick. Chipping through again, the crowd roar. Phil Bennett in his own 25. Running out of defence. Great turn of speed and the jink inside. Bennett to McBride, to Mervyn Davies. To McBride again. To Gordon Brown. Gareth Edwards. To Roger Utley, but Utley just knocking the ball forward, but the referee says play on. J.J. Williams, where's he come from? Williams, a yard to go, and he scored! What an incredible try for the Lions. Comes back on the Lions side to Slattery. Slattery with men outside him. Inside beautifully to Phil Bennett. Look at that acceleration. Bennett with Billy Steele. Bennett on his own. Bennett 5 yards short. He's going to score. Phil Bennett. What a solo effort. The Lions wheel it. Davies takes on Bayful. Mornay a long pass to Bosch. Bosch with Bennett at him. There's Bennett nailing his man, and Ian McCallum in desperation. Taken by Gareth Edwards. Edwards 5 yards short. Gordon Brown's scoring again. The Lions can't believe it. They throw their arms in the air. The Springboks temporarily reduced to 14 men, with Dougal McDonald going to full-back in place of McCallum as the Lions run it. A long drop attempt. Ian McGeechan. He can't believe it. The Springboks now really playing like a beaten side. They came here with such great hopes, and how they have been dashed. Slattery, Focal. 4 Lions surround him. The ball comes back again to the Lions. Dick Milliken. Milliken again, Milliken on his own, going for the line, 2 yards short, and almost carried over. And has the try been awarded? Yes.
A record-winning score for any Lions team in the history of touring. And the record-breaking continued as they scored a remarkable 172 points in the next 5 provincial matches. The Springbok selectors were in a mild state of panic, making wholesale changes in their team to meet the Lions in the third test. This included a final trial for 3 scrum halves on the morning of the match at Port Elizabeth. A victory for the Lions would give them the series.
15 minutes gone. Irvine, a chance to level the scores for the Lions. It's long enough, and it's straight enough. Into injury time now in this first half. Short one at the front for the Lions. They jump in the air, and the try is awarded. Gordon Brown has done it again. 7 points to 3. A very hard battle up front. 15 minutes into the second half. 10 points to 3, the Lions lead. Controlling the heel. Edwards breaks off the dummy again. Gets it second time. Bennett for the drop. It's there. The boot of Phil Bennett. Palm by Brown. Edwards just eluding Ellis. McGeechan to Milliken. Out to J.J. Williams. Williams showing a good turn of speed. Flicks it back inside to JPR. 5 yards short to J.J. Williams again. He's going to score under the post. J.J. Williams. The Lions leap in the air. A magnificent try. Less than 4 minutes to go in this third test match. The Lions almost home in this historic victory. JPR Williams. Running out of defence, feeds Dick Milliken. He's got J.J. Williams. J.J. Williams chipping through. Runs past Chris Pope. It's a race for the line. Will he get the bounce and the pickup? He's got it! J.J. Williams has done it again. The Lions carrying all before them. They win possession again. Edwards, the reverse pass to Bennett, waits for the drop goal and sails it over between the posts just to rub it in.
Another record-breaking victory, and the series won. Willie John McBride was cheered off the field by his teammates, but in the subsequent press conferences he was quick to remind everyone that to win at rugby in the way that they did called for teamwork. The teamwork continued right through the tour, and at the time they arrived at Ellis Park, Johannesburg for the 4th test, they hadn't lost a single match.
Max Bays with the whistle from the line-out. The scrummage 15 yards in. Paul Bayful, the scrum half, replacing Harry Sonicus. This is second test of the series, Bayful's. Oh, and it's a wild pass from Bayful, and the try given to the Lions. And it's Roger Utley, the man with the touchdown. The Lions get the put in for the crooked feed from the line out. Edwards. Edwards goes blind, he's got Irvin outside, he's over. Irvin, really, that was such a simple try. Palm by Grobler, fed on by Ellis. That's Schlebusch to Pope. Pope handing off and going for the corner, but he's got to get through John Williams. The feed inside, picked up by Cronje. And the try is awarded. The first try South Africa have scored in this test series. The crowd go wild. The Springboks draw level. 13 points all the score. Edwards to Bennett, to McGeechan, to Milliken, JPR Williams in the line. Williams still going. Williams cutting his way through. 5 yards short to Slattery. Slattery could score. Slattery must be there. They wait the decision of the referee. Slattery surely was over. They can't believe it. I can't believe it.
The sole arbiter of fact and law didn't see clearly whether Slattery had actually grounded the ball. But even a 13-all draw meant that Willie John McBride's 1974 Lions were truly invincible. For the record books, they scored a total of 729 points and crossed their opponent's line for 107 tries. The Welsh fly half Phil Bennett had scored in every test, and for many, he was the star of the tour. In South Africa, he'd produced the form that he'd shown the world in the Barbarians match against the All Blacks at Cardiff. He was also the leader of a very successful Welsh team, and it was inevitable that he would be given the honour of captaincy of the 1977 Lions tour to New Zealand. Fellow Welshman John Dawes was to be coach, but what had worked for them in Wales didn't have the same effect against the All Blacks. The Lions' 12 points in the first test at Wellington came from 4 penalty kicks, 1 by Andy Irvin and 3 by Phil Bennett. All the tries came from Tony Norton's All Blacks.
Kevin Everly alongside Cobner at the back, still about 8 metres out. Johnston at the front, going. Duncan Robertson. Osborne held about 15 metres out, but Osborne still going. Batty takes it. Good tackle by Bryn Mawr-Williams. Great ruck ball. Going, looking to the narrow side, changes his mind and darts through himself. He's made it. Brian Williams. Will it carry? It's dropping underneath the post and Bennett's there, but the follow through gives Brad Johnston the try. Just outside the Lions 22. That's a good ball for Bryn Mawr-Williams and a possible overlap now. The switch inside to Fenwick. Fenwick with a lovely pass finds Trevor Evans. But Batty intercepts and Batty's got a clear run in. Batty all the way. The crowd go wild and Batty scores the All Blacks' 3rd try. What a disaster, what a tragedy for the Lions.
For the second test at Lancaster Park, Christchurch, the Lions made 6 changes, including bringing England's Bill Beaumont in at lock. Brian Williams kicked 3 penalties for New Zealand, Phil Bennett kicked 3 for the Lions, but there was one spectacular moment to brighten a fairly dull match.
And Bennett follows it up with the fly hack. Farrell misses the pickup. Duggan through with the boot, and that was a lucky one straight to Gordon Brown, up to the All Blacks 22. Quinnell again. McGeechan, J.J. Williams with Irvin outside. The dummy from Williams, and that's a great try. A magnificent try by J.J. Williams.
An unexpected but encouraging victory for the Lions, but a reflection of a dour performance all round, with neither team scoring in the second half. 3 tries came from the third test at Carisbrooke, Dunedin. They were all scored by forwards.
Gordon Brown at 4. That's Wheeler trying to help it down. This is new cap Brian Ford on the 22 metres line of the Lions. Lynn Davis to his club partner. Down the line to Bruce Robertson. Great running from the All Blacks. Bruce Robertson chipping through. Bennett is back there. Robertson is on the line. The All Blacks are over. And I think they've scored in the opening minute. Ian Kirkpatrick gets the touchdown for a dramatic start to this match. It's meant long, but Knight has it. It's a loose ball, and Oliver's there. The whistle's gone. And that was almost inside the All Blacks in-goal area. There's Willie Duggan. So the 5-metre scrummage to the Lions. Brynmore Williams, who's had hamstring trouble, goes off himself, tries to find a way to the line. Still the Lions go, and Willie Duggan's got the score. That's Duggan following up from Brynmore Williams' initial break. So it's a scrummage on the Lions' 22 midfield. Good, effective spoiling by the Lions, but nevertheless Lynn Davis sets it out. Bruce Robertson, Brian Ford, good tackle there by Bircher, but on the Lions' goal line. The All Blacks drive in, it's loose, they have the ball, they go over the line, they get the try. Andy Hayden, the try scorer. This could be New Zealand's day. Butts Morgan feeds Bennett, who dummies with Fenwick. Bennett goes as he tripped over Osborne and was flattened by Murray. Laurie Knight breaks out. Osborne chips on. Morgan covers well. Kirkpatrick, the senior international in the All Black side, feeds inside to Laurie Knight. Laurie Knight held by Irvin. Back from Murray. Lynn Davis thinks of one way, goes the other. Bruce Robertson attempts the drop goal. He gets the drop goal. That clinches it. And I think the final whistle goes with it. What a way to end this test match.
The All Blacks deserved their victory, and by now the Lions' injury problems had them sending for another player, London Welsh scrum half Alan Lewis. But when Scotland's Doug Morgan was chosen to play in the 4th test at Eden Park, the Lions supporters were soon wondering how they ever managed without him.
Morgan ready to pounce, which he does effectively. A crucial bit of spoiling that by Doug Morgan. But the ball is again a second time from Kirkpatrick. Doug Bruce, Leary with the tackle. That's a penalty. The Lions Blacks, I think, caught offside. And that penalty surely must spell 3 points for New Zealand. 22 minutes into this first half. Wilson gently runs up. Clean through, and the first points for New Zealand. 3 points to nil. And a penalty for the Lions against Laurie Knight for using his elbow. So Doug Morgan's second chance to score the Lions' first points. The man who's taken over the prime kicking duties from Phil Bennett in this test. No mistake at all, and he knew it as soon as it kicked it. He looked away, and that levels the score. Peter Wheeler, one of the 4 England players in the pack with the throw. Leary, the palm. Beaumont, Price, Fenwick, just a couple of metres out. The loose ball. Doug Morgan will get the try. He's got it. Doug Morgan on Stuart Melville and Scotland scores just the try that the British Isles needed to restore their confidence. Doug Morgan now attempts to convert his own try. Six points then to add to the Lions' score. Fran Cotton trying to drive over, but the ball buried, and the scrummage again awarded by referee Dave Miller. The quick put in. Clean heel, Lynn Davis. Useful ball as Brian Williams chases. Gareth Evans underneath, misses it. The luck of the bounce goes to Phil Bennett. Bennett taking no chances, aims for touch but doesn't find it. Now this is Osborne. We're into injury time now. Fenwick goes back, is caught, and so is Wheeler by Murray. And Laurie Knight's going to score. Laurie Knight gets the try.
Tony Norton's pack successfully held off a few minutes of heroic onslaught by the Lions forwards in those dying minutes. But in the end, that single-point victory at Auckland meant the All Blacks had won the series 3-1. The Rugby Player of the Year for the season 1979-80 was a lock forward from the Fylde Rugby Football Club, and the decision was unanimous. After all, he led the Northern Division to a memorable victory over the All Blacks, the only defeat suffered by Graham Morey's team on their 10-match tour of England and Scotland. Bill Beaumont led by example. Within a few weeks, he was to lead England to an historic series of victories in the Five Nations Championship. A first Grand Slam for 23 years, a first Triple Crown in 20 years, the first championship title in 17 years. So there were no prizes for guessing who would be invited to be captain of the 1980 Lions Tour of South Africa. The manager was to be the much-admired prop forward from Ballymena, Sid Miller, and the coach was to be Noel Murphy of Cork. It was a tour that made the record books with regards to injuries, with no fewer than 8 players being flown out as replacements during the tour. That made the total number of players 38, made up of 15 Welsh, 10 English, 9 Irish and 4 Scots. The first test was at Cape Town, and the Lions were to be rather grateful for the kicking skills of Ireland's outside half, Tony Ward.
Hazy Pinar played against the Lions last Saturday for Orange Free State. And here number 4, Woolman 5, Duplessis 8, and Rob Lowe 6. Good driving by the Lions pack. That's well knit. Trying to break off for the rolling maul, but it comes back to Patterson to Ward. Angled straight down the throat of Pinar. Over the head of Slemon. Across comes Ward. The bounce good for Pinar. Feeds it on to Rob Lowe. Rob Lowe tries on inside. John Carlton covering Lowe just about half a metre from the goal line. Is he there? And the referee has given the try. Wheeler again doing good spoiling at the front, and the Lions winning a penalty. 35 metres. Struck that well. It's over. Cuts. Down from Heerden that time. Self-contained. Boerter. Behind the line, back division. Up comes O'Donnell to difficult bounce. Away goes Willie Duplessis. Lemon traces, but no way he's got him. Willie Duplessis for South Africa, trailing by the margin with which they won back here in 74. The first test also at Newlands. Almost identical position from his first successful penalty. Off the post and over. Mulman first through. Price. Now Hermes Hayes. Hermes Hayes. That was a bit of luck for O'Donnell. His boot was in the way. Through goes Van Heerden to the corner. Try number 3 for South Africa. And Van Heerden the scorer. And the British Isles looking, dare I say it, that little bit more confident. Willie cuts the hooker from Northern Transvaal to Mulman. Also Northern Transvaal, but the Lions in possession, drive over the line and score. And right at the bottom there is Graham Price. Driving off again comes Falkner with Price. Now John O'Driscoll into the Springbok 22. Jeff Squire held up there by David Smith, the centre. But again they have it back from Jeff Squire. Ward looks for the left foot drop goal to put the Lions ahead. He does. The Lions are ahead to Ward. Mort angled for the box, but not deeply enough. Hermes Hayes on the counter. Crazy Pinard to Ray Mort, up to halfway, taken on by Rob Lowe. Pinard again, a good attack by South Africa. Inside, Hermes Hayes. Hermes Hayes is there to recapture the lead for South Africa. The conversion, magnificent from Bertha.
18 points of the Lions' total came from the boot of Tony Ward, a new Lions test record. But still, the worrying factor for coach Noel Murphy was that the Springbok victory was fundamentally by 5 tries to 1. The pack remained unchanged for the second test at Bloemfontein, but there were 5 changes in the back division, including at fly half, Cardiff's Gareth Davis, and at full back, Scotland's Andy Irvine.
Challenging is Bruce Hay. Not in touch. Andy Irvine. Tempted to run, tries to find a long kick, but it's straight down the throat of Hermes Hayes. Hermes Hayes against Carlton. Support now. David Smith. South Africa's try. Rob Lowe. Quinnell round to give support at the front of the lineup. Patterson's chip, back goes Serfontein. 10 metres out, Serfontein in trouble, the pick up by O'Driscoll. O'Driscoll through, and the try's given. John O'Driscoll doing great following up work there. Playing in just his 4th game on this tour, Gareth Davies. Leans back, oh what a kick! Down from Mulman, Nats Bertha. Duplessis, Pinard in the line, Pinard at speed, past Irvine, David Smith, a try-saving intercept by Bruce Hay. And once again the Lions looking desperate in defence, almost look to be through. The scrummage now, Serfontein, Bertha, long feed to David Smith, to Ray Mort, what a tackle by Bruce Hay, but still Mort's up on his feet again, covering is Patterson. Now it's Mornay Duplessis. Inside to Stoffberg. Stoffberg unchallenged and under the posts. 15 metres out from the South African goal line. Just over 3 minutes to half-time. Lifting in the line out. This to make it 16-9. Right through the middle. The use of the hand on the shoulder gives the Lions a penalty on the halfway line. Andy Irvine. It looks good. Straight through. Gareth Davies can take no further part. So on comes Ollie Campbell. 4 minutes to go. 16 points to 15. Serfontein to Bertha. Gets it away to David Smith. Tries to run outside Woodward. Ray Mort. Ray Mort inside Campbell. Great tackle by Irvine, but Bertha in support. The Springbok pack gather in. It comes back to Serfontein once again. Now it's Pinard. Pinard with Hermes Hayes chasing. It's Carlton against Hermes Hayes. And Hermes Hayes has scored the try. That surely settles the outcome of this tie. Ray Gravel with Irvine in the line. Gravel couldn't get the pass through. The tackle was by David Smith. Hacked on, and again it's a chase. Pinard, but Carlton's fall. Pinard again with Hermes Hayes inside. Pinard all the way. What a dramatic finale. The scrummage 5 metres from South Africa's 22. Patterson, who's again had another good game, has it now to Campbell. This is Gravel. Woodward, Hay, Irvine now, but there's not that real pace and acceleration again. Woodward in support. Gravel still. Gravel through. A consolation try.
The try count at Bloemfontein was 4 to the Springboks, 2 to the Lions, an encouraging adjustment to the Lions' share of scoring chances, especially as the injury problems were becoming a nightmare for the Lions selectors. By the time they arrived at Port Elizabeth for the 3rd test, the Lions were aware of another encouraging factor. To date, they had won every one of their provincial matches. But in the 3 tests, Mornay du Plessis' Springboks had made only 1 change in their team, and that was to strengthen the front row.
The win behind the Lions in this first half. Looking for his first points in the Test series. Replacement, of course, in the second Test. Ollie Campbell could give the Lions a great opening. And he does so. So much more drive and spoiling from this reshaped Lions back row. With the solidity in front of them. Patterson now. Good spoiling, though, that time by Devan Serpentine. Hacked on by Burter. Serpentine again. Scragged by O'Driscoll. Through goes Bruce Hay. Hay scores. Bidding to keep alive their hopes of levelling the series. Lions 10-metre line. Serpentine Burter, who's kicked virtually all the possession that's come his way. Not much that Clive Woodward could do about that. 15 metres out now from the line. From Stopford, Hannes Hay scores! Lars Burter has the chance to put South Africa ahead for the first time in this match. It's over!
The manager, Sid Miller, regarded this narrow victory for the Springboks as a game of missed chances for the Lions. They were certainly an improved side, and after 3 more provincial wins, Bill Beaumont's Lions went into the 4th Test at Pretoria with justifiable confidence. 68,000 people saw a thrilling match.
Ollie Campbell having missed 3. And that one is right on target. The British Isles lead. Just about 5 metres out. Lars Burter. Can he level it now? No mistake with that one. 3 points all. Not in touch. Irvin now. Ollie Campbell in support. Lovely dummy from Campbell. A chance now, surely. Racing to the line is O'Driscoll. Can he make it? He's brought down a metre short by Mona van Heerden of all people. The Lions forwards drive in. They go over. They get the try. And Clive Williams may well be the man to be credited with it. Clive Williams gets the plaudits of Graham Price. Robbie in defence. Doesn't find touch. Pinar loves to counter-attack from this sort of situation. Gets past both Robbie and Paul Dodge. Is nailed by Jeff Squire. Mornay du Plessis in first. Back it comes. Serpentine out to Raymond. Tackled well by the halfbacks, but the loose ball comes to Lars Burter. Makes the gap, the clean gap past O'Driscoll. Covering is Campbell. There's Willie du Plessis. Just tuck of the beat, and Willie du Plessis has scored. Superb individual try by Willie du Plessis. Driving about 3-4 metres out from South Africa's goal line. The rolling ball, it's still Lions in possession. Back from Robbie. Campbell to Dodge. Irvin in the line. Bruce Hay against Pinar. Irvin in support, couldn't get the pass away. He gets it to Gravel. Gravel a metre short. Irvin now rolling over and gets the try. The Lions scrummage on South Africa's goal line. Going surely for the pushover. Setting it up though. Back it comes from Squire. Campbell. Gravel. 5 metres out. Popped up by Campbell. John O'Driscoll. Over the line. And has scored the try. There's John O'Driscoll as ever in support.
As the match ended in Pretoria, Bill Beaumont could reflect that he'd led teams which had beaten Scotland, Ireland, Wales, France, New Zealand and South Africa all within a year. And the winning of the 4th Test saw the Lions superior in the try count by 3-1. During the decade that followed that Test in Pretoria, there were suspicions it would be the last encounter between the Springboks and a touring Lions side, at least until the political situation in South Africa is resolved. And so to the Lions of 1983, a year when the International Rugby Board, under the chairmanship of a great Lion, an Irish Lion, Ronnie Dawson, were confronted by the ever-increasing problems of amateurism. Players here knew that if they were selected to go to New Zealand, they would come up against that annoying fact that players in the Southern Hemisphere received incentives and rewards for playing in the same game. There was, too, a suspicion that while we were beating each other in the Five Nations Championship, the general standard of play had in fact deteriorated. The demands on players were vastly different from former times. Rugby football was becoming big business, and media coverage was at a high level. To relieve the pressure on the players to some extent, it was decided that the 1983 tour would comprise of only 18 matches, the shortest tour ever. But the Tour of New Zealand still required 4 demanding test matches. The manager was to be Willie John McBride, and the tour captain was to be Ireland's hooker, Kieran Fitzgerald. He led the Irish to 3 victories in the championship, but he had no illusions about the task ahead. He was to be in direct confrontation with his opposite number in the scrum, the All Black hooker Andy Dalton, who had taken over from the retired captain Graham Murray. The first test was on June the 4th at Lancaster Park, Christchurch.
About 8 metres outside New Zealand's 22. It's there for Holmes if he can recover on his feet. But a penalty for New Zealand going over the top, a penalty to the British Isles. So a chance for Ollie Campbell. 10 of his last kicks at goal have been successful. Vital to give the Lions this early lead. It's well struck, and it's perfect for Ollie Campbell. So just 7 minutes played, and Ollie Campbell has set the Lions on their way. Which have got him through, but a penalty against him. A chance for Alan Hewson 10 minutes into this first half. Well struck. Superb. So just short of 10 minutes played, and Alan Hewson has levelled the score. A penalty apiece. Terry Holmes delaying the put-in, having indicated to the referee, I think he was unhappy about the binding on that far side of the scrummage. 19 minutes of this first half played. And that time it's right. So the pressure tells in the end. There's Winterbottom, a real tear-away of a flanker whose destructive capabilities are enormous. So we're just inside the New Zealand 22. Holmes with the feed. Campbell standing off for possible drop goal chance here, which he goes for. Down to Loveridge, neatly. Down to Taylor, to Carey. First chance for him, lovely round the corner pass to Stu Wilson. Inside is Taylor once more. Finds Ian Dunn. Inside the Lions 22. Set back by Hobbs. Barkshaw now, and a chance on here for Carey. Hewson, Fraser. Holds for the moment, looks for the inside pass. Picked up by Shaw. Off goes Irwin again. And spelled on the All Blacks 10-metre line. And all that time, an advantage had been played in front of the posts, about 43 metres out. Again, well struck. And direction, perfect. The Lions stay in the hunt. Just a 1-point difference. And less than 9 minutes to go. Campbell again. These last moments of the match, deep in British Isles territory. Campbell. That's deliberately done to keep it in play, but it's well judged by Hewson. Tries for the long drop goal that would seal it for certain. What a way to finish the match.
The Lions coach Jim Telfer echoed words heard so often after a first test. The Lions missed golden opportunities. They had matched the All Blacks pack in the tight, but the backs failed to take advantage. The Lions had 3 high-scoring victories between the first and second tests, and everyone expected more than they delivered at Wellington.
Norster initially. Deflected, though, back on the All Black side. Wayne Smith, Warwick Taylor, Hewson up in the line, but Wilson come across. Wayne Smith trying to set it up again. Loveridge on the wide outside. Gets past Paxton. And still, Andy Dalton now, 10 metres out. The All Blacks in possession once more. Wayne Smith, Warwick Taylor looks for the gap, gets through the first one. Campbell gets the tackle to bring him down. 5 metres out. The All Blacks have it once more. Loveridge is through. Winterbottom, though, has won it back. But that shot through to Picari. His fly hack through. Fraser faces. Back goes Carlton. Who gets the dive down? Picari. But the ball was knocked on. No try is given.
It was the first time that the Lions had failed to score a point against the All Blacks since another Irish hooker, Carl Mullen, led the Lions in the second test at Christchurch in 1950. Only one provincial match could be fitted into this shorter tour between the second and third tests. But with some uncompromising training sessions, Jim Telfer was able to produce a team with spirit and determination. He knew there was a chance if the Lions could match the discipline of the All Blacks.
Deflected by Bainbridge. Price meant to come round to tidy up. Well sent back by Coldclough. Now Campbell. No doubting the Floyd today. That's not exactly where he wanted to be. And Campbell through to spoil with Bainbridge. A chance for Ben. And the try. The referee has given it. Loveridge would be put into the scrummage. Lions wheel. Laidlaw through and offside. A penalty to New Zealand. From about 38 metres. Wind blowing across the field. Useful effort. Superbly done and judged on a day like this. Alan Hewson. Gerald. Undaunted. But it's Mexted to win the line-out. But passed through was Winterbottom and Fitzgerald again on Loveridge. And good play by Calder. The follow-up by Paxton. Just outside New Zealand 22. And well won by the pack. Laidlaw, Campbell, Rutherford. Kiernan with a pass. Now a chance for Roger Baird to use that speed. Shadowed by Stu Wilson. The inside pass to Gwyn Evans. To John Rutherford for the try. Brilliant score by the British Isles. They could not have wished for better. And what a moment of sheer joy for John Rutherford. But still, New Zealand win possession back to the pack to Ashworth. Now Loveridge. Stu Wilson find a way through. And New Zealand win back the lead. That's a record equaling try for Stu Wilson. And Loveridge again. Second scissors. And the Lions will be on side in that position.
A genuine chance at Dunedin was lost. 2 good tries by Scottish backs, but the New Zealand fullback Alan Hewson was to prove yet again that indiscipline can cost a good team the match. Kieran Fitzgerald led his team at Eden Park, Auckland, knowing he faced the possibility of a series whitewash. The courage of the Lions was never in doubt, but beset by the ever-present injury problems, they were to prove no match for the supermen of New Zealand rugby.
Comes up from Mexted to Loveridge again. That's Stu Wilson at pace. Stu Wilson, clean through, but no try will be given. Good work by Bainbridge. Laidlaw, Campbell, Irwin, Kiernan. Well, no ball. Mexted. New Zealand 22, midfield. And Loveridge is offside this time. Campbell to take the kick though. And is successful too. Loveridge again possession for New Zealand. Picari, Bernie Fraser coming in from the left. Stu Wilson for the record try for New Zealand. Plaudits, congratulations all round for him in his 31st international since his first cap in 1977. The whole of Eden Park on its feet to salute Stu Wilson. Zealand drive in and set it up once more from Hewson, the full-back that time, and it's McCary with the chip through for Stu Wilson. Wilson in hand, Wilson the try. Stu Wilson with his second try in the opening 2 minutes of this second half. Short of the line, 10-metre line, Mexted again. Loveridge, look at that angled ball, he missed down, it went straight to Taylor. Carey, Wilson to Hewson. Nice touch. Campbell in trouble, as you can see, and it just bounces into the arms of Alan Hewson, and that's try number 4 under the post. Inside the Lions 22. Mexted, Loveridge, done. Almost a bit too clever that time, but escaping almost. And still New Zealand turn, win possession. The pack set it up like clockwork. The Lions cannot hope to cope with this. Mexted, Ashworth in possession, being driven to the line. And still looking for possession again. They're just those few centimetres short. Hayden has scored. Andy Hayden, in what may be his last international, made sure he got up with that ball. Hayden still doing his best. Evans, Kiernan, tapped on by McNeil. Stu Wilson, a hat-trick.
It was a record score against the Lions for any New Zealand team, but as subsequent seasons in the 80s proved, New Zealand were to become virtually unbeatable by any side. They were the nucleus of the team that went on to win the first Rugby World Cup. The tour results made sad reading for the 4 home unions. They too had the World Cup to prepare for. There was work to do. And work they did. All 4 home countries went on to qualify for the quarterfinals of the World Cup. Scotland were beaten by New Zealand, Ireland were beaten by Australia, and then England beaten by Wales, who eventually went on to beat Australia for 3rd place. The manager of that Welsh team was to hold a unique position in Lions history. Clive Rowlands is the only official to be elected manager of 2 Lions teams. The first time was in 1986, when at Cardiff Arms Park the Lions played a World 15 to celebrate the centenary of the International Rugby Board. But as manager of the 1989 Lions, he and his team were to turn the clock back 90 years. For the first time since 1899, the tour would be only to Australia. The captain would be the dynamic flank forward from Stuart's Melville, Finlay Calder, and there were to be 2 coaches, taking care of the forwards, England's Roger Utley, and keeping an overall eye on the team, Scotland's Ian McGeechan. The first test was played at the new Sydney Football Stadium, custom built for such an event, and as anticipated, it was filled to capacity by a crowd waiting to see how Nick Farr-Jones's Wallabies would take on Finlay Calder's Lions.
Farr-Jones, liner, little chip and chase, Robert Jones covering liners there, it's anyone's ball and the try is given. Lloyd Walker the scorer. There the Lions coaching duo of Ian McGeechan and Roger Utley. Front of the posts. Robert Jones waits. Chalmers, perhaps a drop goal on here. Goes for it. Clean through the middle. Australia increased their line-out length at the last moment as Campbell rolls it off. Farr-Jones tries to find the back division. Does so. Greg Martin in the line. And this is Gurley. Goes for it and gets it. 2 good tries by Australia. Oh, it's a fine kick. But what else would you expect from Michael Lynagh? Over the top go the Lions. And again they turn tail and face Lynagh with a long ball, head onto the posts. Puts weight behind it. Yes, that's some kick. They
They come again through Campisi. Liner himself beats one man, beats two. Maguire to the line. Try is given. Oh, what a kick. Really an immaculate performance. But here's a penalty to the Lions for pushing in the line out by Australia. Relatively easy miss early in this half. But that'll do well. So something to give them a bit of a lift as we come to the last 16 minutes, 24 points to 9. Back to Jones, Chalmers, dummy, it's in fact taken by Hastings on the switch. Norster pops it up well. Ackford now, bit more rugged this by the Lions. Possession out on the narrow side, and again Gourlay is penalised, offside. That's good. Craig Chalmers runs back, and the Lions claw back to within 12 points now. Referee just steadying the scrum, getting the right position, just a few metres out. Far Jones poised, has a go himself. Dummers to his half-back, and straight through for the try is full-back Martin. Another player on his debut. 28 points to 12. And try number 4 is converted.
Australia hadn't won a test match against the Lions since a 6-5 victory at Sydney Cricket Ground in 1930. The Wallabies were understandably confident of taking the 3-match series. When the Lions arrived at Brisbane for the second test, they'd made 6 changes, some through injury, but for the Irish, the embarrassment of seeing a Lions side without an Irish player.
Far Jones, liner, pumps one up. Ian Evans is back there. Gavin Hastings waits for it. It's bounced loose, and the Wallabies are there in strength and numbers. Links out from Far Jones to liner. Greg Martin goes for a try, and the corner claims it. Greg Martin, 2 tests, 2 tries. The liner then bidding to make it over 400 points in Test rugby. Oh, it's beautifully struck. That is perfection to notch up the 4th century of points in just 32 Test matches. Can he get this one? And he has. The Union Jacks of the supporters in the far stand and terraces going aloft as first points in the match for the British Isles from the boot of Gavin Hastings. Australia for once looking shaky in defence. Robert Jones, Rob Andrew looks for 3 points off the drop goal. No problem. They played about 16 minutes of the second half. It's 9-6 to Australia, but it's a penalty to Australia now from the line-out. Now trying to re-establish a 6-point lead in the shadow of the main stand. Well, inch perfect again, and once more that momentary lapse of discipline gives Australia 3 points almost. Penalty to the British Isles. Rob Andrew. It's a good kick. It's 12-9. It's still in the melting pot. Through the pack. Rolling round again. It's Teague, one-handed, beautifully fed. Robert Jones cutting inside his Underwood. Good tackle by Gourlay, but Moore's there in support. They're 10 metres out. It's Finlay Calder shunting it out to Rob Andrew. There must be a man over here, surely. The pass is loose and bouncing, but Gavin Hastings picks up and hands off the man for the try. Gavin Hastings is through. 13-12 it stands to the British Isles, ahead for the first time. Campisi under pressure. Ian Evans is in there. Lovely pop-up from Rob Andrew to Finlay Calder, the captain. Didn't see any immediate support and carries on himself within 5 metres. Possession's coming again. Brian Moore, Rob Andrew, Guscott, little chip and chase. It's beautifully placed. Guscott's there. Guscott, what a try. That must seal it. A brilliant moment of individual skill. And the young Bath lad is over the moon. Jeremy Guscott can't believe it. And the Lions surely now are home and dry because the conversion's in front of the post.
A spectacular finish for the Lions and the Test series levelled. The media-conscious Australians want their sport to be hard, uncompromising and entertaining, and they certainly got all of that in the first 2 tests. And so it was a guarantee that the third and deciding test at the Sydney Football Ground on the 15th of July would be a sellout.
Norton with the throw. Campbell at the front, but it's down and gathered in by Sol. And there's a good phalanx of support again. Robert Jones has got in, he's impeded as the players go over. The Lions have the penalty. Gavin Hastings. 2 penalties in this test. Can he give it a 6-point lead for the Lions again? Perfectly struck. Oh, that's a magnificent kick. It's the 22. Gourley channels it in. Tyneman protects Farr Jones. Liner. Double miss move in the centre, and Liner's half through and clear. Williams on the overlap, he's got the pace. Oh, it's a great try. The Lions have the scrummage ball. Robert Jones, drop goal attempt by Andrew. Just wide. And Campese off on his travels again, and in dire straits. It could be a score for Ian Evans. He's got it. One of those disastrous moments in Campese's rugby life. The game needed a bit of touch of his ingenuity, but what a disaster this was. Tried to find Martin, and Ian Evans, quickest off the blocks. Gavin Hastings, 4 penalty goals. What a bonus this 5th one would be if he gets it. Yet again, it's his day. Driving on towards the 22. The ball is there. It's offside. 3 penalty goals and a conversion. Just 1 miss. Can he kick Australia back to within a point? He has.
Jubilation for the Lions. The series won by 2 tests to 1. It was a rare and precious victory for the 4 home unions, in a country where there's a premium on physical hardness in sport. But perhaps more importantly, it was to underline to the sceptics that the Lions tour of Australia had been a worthwhile venture. And in the spirit of touring, the Australian Rugby Union arranged to say farewell to the Lions with a Barbarian-style celebration match. A combined Australian-New Zealand 15 would meet them for the final match of the tour at Ballymore. Lions versus the Anzacs seemed like an entertaining prospect. But the match didn't quite live up to the aspirations of the organisers. But it did produce a few spectacular moments.
Deliberately just half strength on that one to allow the ball to go clear. And what a lovely dummy by Ian Williams racing home. Williams just fooling Gavin Hastings for the crucial moment to run in the score that recaptures the lead for the Anzacs. Derek White holds it on the wheel. Chalmers, Mullen, the mismove to fullback Gavin Hastings. Brother Scott outside, nice show of the ball, trying to get the return pass to Gavin, and does. Dever in support, it's a great score. Robert Jones set to feed it out again. Moore the link. Gavin Hastings, the drop goal attempt, it looks good. And that's magnificent. They round off an historic day in victory. They round off a tour triumphant. 19 points to 15 here at Ballymore.
As I speak, we're at the beginning of the last decade of the 20th century, and rugby union football is played now in almost every country in the world. There are new laws, new experiences, new attitudes, and a new World Cup, which has changed the game forever. and for most of us, for the better. And you know, whatever happens as far as Lions tours are concerned, what it has done is this. It's brought together men from England, Scotland, Ireland and Wales, brought them together to go on an adventure or an expedition overseas, where they've always produced spectacular rugby and created lasting friendships. That's not a bad contribution to the whole fabric of rugby in the world.